Today we are talking worst trades in franchise history, and yes, you already know what will make an appearance.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jay Bouwmeester, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sport stops sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a Boo Story bonus daily. That is right, something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, I thought that we could kick off new month with some of the worst trades in Calgary Flames franchise history. I think that this is always such a fun thing to revisit because sometimes with time, new ones get added to the list. And they somehow outdo the bad. They're worse than the last worst one. And we'll eventually visit, best trades in franchise history. But I figured let's start with the worst. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. It is August, so we are going down to 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, up until time training camp starts. So stick around. We have some good stuff planned for the remainder of the off season, and let's dive into this. Immediately, I knew that the Iginla trade was going to be on this list. And this isn't, me ranking like in any specific order. These are just ones that are in the on the list in that realm, right? So the Flames traded Jarome Iginla to the Penguins for Kenny Agostino, Ben Hanowski, and a 2013 first-round pick. This was a trade deadline move in March 2018. March 28th, 2013. The Flames have a history of trading captains. Make of that what you will. Like, people dog on the Rangers for making their captains the scapegoat and trading them all away. So maybe the Flames are also kind of hanging in that category too. They also let Gio go in the expansion draft. So that's also that. This is such an odd trade because number one, it's your captain, right? And not only your captain, but probably the best player in Flames franchise history. I do not think that there will be a better Flame than Jarome Iginla. And part of me hopes I'm wrong there because I would love to see some more talent like that high-end talent on the Flames roster. But he had a no movement clause, which, like we've seen before, narrows down the choices. And this was an expiring contract. And Iginla wanted a shot at the cup. Pittsburgh at that time, obviously, dominant force to be reckoned with, and it felt like a good shot. But didn't really go anywhere. Obviously, 2013, Chicago won the cup. But this reminds me a lot of the trades we saw with the Flames this year. Obviously, the expiring contracts, the no movement clause, but the underwhelming return. I feel like the Chris Tanev trade was kind of just that. Like, it wasn't, we don't know how the future is going to pan out for the prospects, but it's just not very promising, I guess would be the right word. Like, if Dallas is willing to move on from a prospect, you kind of know that they're not what they want to see. So that's that. Also, Augustino only played 10 games with Calgary. Not great, you trade your captain, generational player, the heartbeat of your team. You just ripped it out and like stepped on it and jumped on, like did a little dance on the heartbeat of the team. And then Hanowski, this surprised me. This shocked me. I wasn't expecting a long hockey reference page or hockey DB, any of that, but he only played 16 career games and racked up 3 points. So, can you see why this is disappointing? Like, I don't think that there's much debate there. 11 years later, it's still a topic of conversation at times, but this is very puzzling to me. But the Flames just have found ways to shoot themselves in the foot. I'm going to say feet because they do it that often. Where it doesn't make sense. Like, this trade backfired. I'm sorry, but you didn't get really anything in this return. They panned out to be not even mid-level prospects. They played 16 games and then 10 games with your organization. That's not good. And that it's very disappointing. And I think a lot about Craig Conroy, right? In the position he's in now. He saw this unfold for like over the last 10 years as in the front office, but then also like to his best friend. And I'm sure he knows and has learned, because that is tough. And we're going to talk about some more tough trades coming up next, because I feel like we're just constantly scratching our heads, and that's just where the Flames leave me with this list. The third trade, which we all know, is going to be Matthew Tkachuk, but like true head-scratching questionable returns on these first two trades around the same exact time. So make of that what you will, but we will be right back after this. I wanted to take a quick second here and talk to you guys about Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find a quality candidate fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. You can follow me on Twitter at Jay Bouwmeester, and I've still got you covered through the rest of this offseason. looking forward to that. So another trade deadline move of that year, the same year as the Iginla trade, literally happened days after, actually, was the Jay Bouwmeester to the Blues trade. This literally has me scratching my head. I knew that they had traded him, obviously, but I did not realize the stinker of a return it was. And like, is that the Flames legacy? Is that the Flames legacy? Just horrible, like, trade, like, not being able to manage your contract and your cap space and for parts of your organization is like, that's normal. That's natural. It happens. But like, these returns are so concerning for the Iginla and Bouwmeester trade that like, why did you not just let these players walk? Like, you might as well. And I understand you want to get what you want to get something in return for your players, but like, when you're getting mid-level prospects, like, hindsight's always going to be 2020, but these are just really, really confusing. I was doing some digging at this around this because I did not follow the Flames at this time. I did not know. I don't even know if I knew Alberta existed. This was a very long time ago. I'm sure I did. I'm just kidding. But Jay Bouwmeester was he was a solid defenseman that was like a shutdown player. And when I tell you, I looked at his average time on ice, my jaw fell open. So the 2012-2013 season with Calgary, so before he was traded to St. Louis, was 25 minutes and 10 seconds. So that's like your top pairing defenseman with both penalty kill and power play minutes. So like, this man was doing the absolute most, and a workhorse, truly. And the return was a goalie, Rito Berra, and a defenseman, Mark Kandari, and a 2013 first round pick. Need I say more? This wasn't like a bad contract. There was still time left on this deal. There was, room for this deal to be there. Like, it doesn't make sense to do this for that return. And I understand both Iginla and Bouwmeester wanted a shot at the cup. Bouwmeester eventually got his. But the Flames just like took pennies on the dollar for this trade. And it's one thing to move your, top line or top pairing defenseman, right? If the contract is horrendous, if things are not going well, if you know and will only accept a quality return, that makes so much sense to do. If you know that you can hold out, great. Do that until the stakes are a little higher, values, a little more inflated, and then move. That's not what happened. I guess the Flames were in a similar transition period as to where they are now, and they were looking to collect assets, but they didn't even turn the draft pick really into anything. Like, none of this adds up to your captain and your top pairing defenseman. 25 minutes a night, and you're getting these. And it's not like he obviously wasn't a bad defenseman. I it's crazy. Like, okay, I mean, he's a defenseman. He was a shutdown defenseman, so, like, he only had 7 points in oh, wait, I'm sorry, that was the St. Louis. He had 15 points in 33 games with the Flames that season, and that's not necessarily bad, for someone who puts all their emphasis on defense. I like, this stuff makes Craig Conroy look so smart. And he's a very smart man. I have a lot of respect for Craig Conroy, but like, this makes his moves look so much better. Because we know what we know. And when you watch your bosses make these horrible moves, guess what you're keeping in the back of your mind? Because you file that away and say, oh yeah, don't want that to happen. Like, I don't look at any of the Craig Conroy era trades and think, my God, that's bad. I mean, that's that. The Flames have traded away a lot of players, and none of them, like, yeah, they're underwhelming, but I don't feel like they're this bad. At least not yet. Things could always get worse. They weren't in a rush to do this. They didn't have an ultimatum to trade Bouwmeester. It was them trying to do. The article that I read from the hockey writers said that the Flames were in a rebuild. The Flames have never truly rebuilt. I think that is a general consensus. But they have gone through so many transitional periods where a true rebuild would have benefited them. And we're going to talk about this next trade here that helped kickstart the latest transition period for the Calgary Flames. And we will be right back with news from them, dissecting the Matthew Tkachuk trade once again after this. I love sports and I love them so much, and I never ever want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sport stops sports like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going all summer long. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up any bet anytime I'm in the mood. It's really that simple. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today and making Locked On Flames part of your day. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Does everybody else remember where they were when the Matthew Tkachuk trade happened? Because I remember exactly where I was when it was reported by Haley Salvain that he wanted a trade. I was at the amusement park, at the water park. And then for the trade, I was just trying to be a responsible adult, in bed, decent hour during the summer. Nope. What on earth are we doing? Like, if you look back at this happened 2 years ago. The Flames were coming off of like that 2021 team, 2022 was pretty special. And then it all crumbled and fell apart for one reason or another. And there's only Oliver Shillington signed with Colorado today. Good for him. And the only remaining Flames from that 2022 team left are Backlund, Anderson, and Blake Coleman. What happened? What happened happened to that team? I mean, obviously, moving parts are necessary, and some of the biggest moving parts that left was obviously Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk is an excellent hockey player, and he has proven that in his new home as well. We could do an entire episode on why this is like a franchise-altering, franchise-defining trade, and not for a good reason. Like, Florida can look at this and be like, this was a great trade. This was a franchise-altering trade because, we won the cup within 2 years of it. But no, the Flames have not benefited as well as we thought they would. I thought that this was going to be a pretty, even and fair trade. Like, on paper, it looked great. It looked good. And obviously, things have unfolded the way that they have. And Jonathan Huberdeau has 107 points. Oh, that's in his 2 seasons with Calgary. I mean, obviously, he was never going to be a 115-point player again. Like, that's a given. That doesn't happen unless you're like Connor McDavid. But it has not panned out the way Flames fans had expected, myself included. Had Brad Treliving not signed him to that ginormous extension, we could be looking at things a little differently. I really do appreciate Mackenzie Weegar. I think he's great. I think that he is someone that the Flames, or really any locker room, could benefit from. He is someone that is just like a natural leader, and has a lot of those intangibles that coaches love. His push, advocacy for a new locker, or new arena rather, the stars just aligned perfectly for him. I can't. Oh, this trade is like a punch to the gut every time I have to talk about it. It's just, the Flames weren't going to win a Stanley Cup with the roster that they had assembled. It was not going to happen. But they were a good competitive team that year. Daryl Sutter got what he needed to get out of them for one good year. and then it all crumbled. But I think with the Tkachuk trade, you look at this, and yes, you lose one of your best draft picks of all time in this trade. And you also lose Gaudreau in the same summer, right? 2 highly skilled players. That's a tough blow. That is such a tough blow. You're going to have to make some changes. You're going to have to make some adjustments in order to put together some, replicable talent. It's going to need to replace what was gone. You had to figure that out. And unfortunately, they haven't cracked the code yet. They haven't done it. And it's a long few years ahead of the Flames with the Jonathan Huberdeau contract extension. And I'm sure Mackenzie Weegar will eventually hit a wall too. Like, it's natural. But Huberdeau just came a lot earlier than I think most people expected. So it's not a fun trade to look back at. I am glad that it took the franchise in the direction of, we need to take action. Brad Treliving left his job. They fired Daryl Sutter, and then brought in someone who isn't afraid to make moves, who's not worried about pleasing everyone, who knows he has bosses to answer to, but is still going to haggle and work for a a decent return. Because if you look at Huberdeau, Weegar, and Schwent, like realistically, that's a decent return. That is a decent return. However, you look at, you know, the Iginla and Bouwmeester trade, there's it does not hold, no pun intended, but it doesn't hold a flame to the Tkachuk trade. The return on paper there just looks a million times better. And realistically, even on the ice, it panned out better because Huberdeau has played more than 16 games, has played more than 10 games, and has put up 107 points in 2 years. Can't say much for the other returns. It's a battle you have to pick. It is something that happened. It is something we will all talk about for generations to come when they are rebuilding this next Flames arena in 50 years, because it's old and outdated and decrepit. When that Jonathan Huberdeau contract finally expires, we will still be talking about this trade. And I hope everyone involved, front office wise, never has a cold side. Like, both sides of their pillow are constantly warm. That's about all I can say, because it is such a bad trade. It ended like this. The Jonathan Huberdeau contract clears any contract for being the worst contract in the NHL. And this is coming from a Huberdeau enjoyer. Like, this contract is bad. It still has time to turn around, but third time's a charm, third year's a charm. We'll see. But you got to manage those expectations, because, Florida won a cup in 2 years. Calgary traded away 90% of the players that were on that team. So you win some, you lose some. Here you lost them all. But that will do it for me today on Locked On Flames. I hope you all have a fantastic week. And we are back to off-season mode here. So 3 episodes a week. And I look forward to chatting with you all on Wednesday. Unless something happens, like newsworthy happens in between those days, it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I look forward to hearing from you all and what you think your, how does this list hold up with yours? And I feel like there are a number of trades you can absolutely choose from. These were just my 3 that I really wanted to talk about. But I will see you all on Wednesday. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay hydrated. Put on some sunscreen, get some SPF chapstick. And I will see you all later this week.